Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about tactical reloads with the AK-47, okay? Now, before we get into the AK-47, let's quickly talk about the AR-15 and how we reload that and how we do tactical reloads with that. AR-15s tend to be very easy because of the way the magazine inserts, okay? If I wanted to do an emergency reload, I basically hit the button, drop the magazine, next one goes in. So basically you can do this all day. Now, if I wanted to do a tactical reload where I retain the magazine, right, so I can put it away because, let's say I've shot half of this magazine and I want to hold on to that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this magazine here from the base using basically the two fingers, my index finger and my thumb. I'm going to grab the other magazine with my other fingers. I'm going to pull that out, insert the next magazine, okay? So, again, I'm grabbing from the base, holding index fingers here, pulling it out. As you see, when I pull it out, you can see the new magazine, the one that's going in, it sits higher, so it will easily go in. Okay, so that's how we do our tactical reloads with the AR-15. Okay, so now let's compare that to the AK-47. The AK-47, the magazine, instead of going straight in, it rocks in. Okay, so basically there's a rivet here. And there's a hook on the front of the magazine, and we got a hook in front of that rivet, and that's how the magazine goes in. And the way we do, let's say, an emergency reload with this, right? I mean, there's a lot of ways out there, but the most common way is to take the next magazine, hit that release, use that to pop out the magazine. Get in there. And get that in. Now, as you can see, that that's a perfect example of how it can, of how it can be a little bit more difficult to get that AK magazine in there. Let's try that again. Get that out. Get the next one in. Okay, that time it went in a little bit easier. So the question becomes, okay, fine. We know how to do this. We seem to be able to do this with a little effort. We can get it to work. There we go. Okay, so obviously it takes a little bit more effort to rock this in as compared to the AR-15 where it just shoots straight up. All right, so the question becomes now, what if we want to retain the magazine? Okay, because in this, the way I was reloading this right now, the magazine was dropping to the ground. If I still had some ammunition in there, I would basically I gotta go down to the ground to pick it up, and that especially if it's nighttime and it's dark, I might have a difficult time finding that magazine. So. What a lot of people will do, okay, is basically they'll have this magazine. They'll take this magazine out. They'll basically put it in their in the pouch or something with a pocket, and then they'll basically take the next magazine and rock that in. Now, as you can see, okay, this leaves me. There's a longer period of time where I'm left with this gun without any magazine in it. Okay, so. I've been working on different ways to try to streamline that, to make that more efficient, to make that faster. I generally don't like to make up things. Everything that I teach is usually, something that is combat tested, that I've learned through, through veterans, who have been in, different wars. That's where most of my AR-15 experience comes from. And the same thing with the AKs. I talked to, obviously we don't, here in the United States, we don't have too many guys that actually use them in combat, but by being in regions, let's say like Afghanistan or in Iraq, where the other side uses AKs, they're able to gain experience from them and bring it back to us, okay? So this is one of those areas where I have not been able to get combat dependent information. So I kind of had to come up with something on my own. And the method that I found, okay, is, put that, so if you're in a situation where you are shooting, okay, and let's say I'm using this as cover right here, right? So I'm over here, I'm scanning, okay, I decide coast is safe, I want to do now a tactical reload, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the muzzle of my gun and basically stick it into my cover, okay? So the gun is locked between my cover and my shoulder, and my hands are able to go free. And what I'm going to do then is I'm going to take the magazine out, okay? Take the magazine out, have that ready, right? Take the last look around, and then I'll use my right hand to remove the magazine, and then my left hand to put it back in as quickly as I can, okay? So let's do that again. Again, if you're right-handed, you're going to remove the magazine with your right hand, and you're going to insert with your left hand, and try to do that as quickly as possible. There we go. Right, and then from that position, you can store the magazine. And basically you're ready to continue doing whatever you were doing. So that's the method that I have found to be the most effective, the most reliable. I've seen people try to, do the two magazines in one hand switch. I mean, I can't even do it without gloves. If I try to do it with my bare hands, I still can't really manage it without really fumbling the magazine, and I certainly can't do it with gloves on. This method that I just demonstrated with insulated gloves, I am able to do reliably. So I think that's something that you guys should try out. And I think what I demonstrated right here is the main difference, as far as I'm concerned, between the AR-15 and the AK-47. All the other stuff I can overlook, okay? The AR-15 is a little bit more accurate. What that means is, like with this Palmetto AR here, I get a 3-inch group at 110 yards. With this washer, I get a 4-inch group at 110 yards. So there's a 1-inch difference between them at 110 yards. So, I mean, to me, that's pretty insignificant. I mean, the combat-wise, I mean, they're both pretty, equally accurate as far as I'm concerned. As weight-wise, I mean, this AR is about a pound lighter unloaded versus the AK over here. This weighs 6.5 pounds. This weighs 7.5 pounds unloaded. So there's no major difference there. I find the safety selector a little bit easier on the AR because I can basically you're basically flipping your thumb back and forth, whereas with the AK there's basically a bigger motion. Okay, and sometimes it might even get stuck. So there's a bigger motion here, but again, it's something I can overlook. It's something I can get used to. With practice, with more practice, I would just get better at it. Optics-wise, there's also an advantage to the AR, I think, because the optic mounts directly on the receiver, and it's just more solid. With the AK, the optic basically mounts on a side rail, and basically, if I push down on this, I mean, that's going to move a little bit. This is obviously, less stable. It's stable enough, but basically, if I need to get to the internals of this gun, I have to remove this. I need to remove the rail in order to remove the dust cover and get inside the gun. And what I find is that every time I do that, it will lose it'll lose 0, not a whole lot. I mean, it's still combat effective, I think, within 100 yards. But I will probably have to re-zero it at least by a couple of clicks, in some direction. Okay. Some people, for that reason, will mount their optics on the gas tube over here. And, that brings a different issue because the gas tube tends to get very hot, and it can basically burn up your optic if you mount it on the gas tube. So that's one of the reasons why I like to mount it back here. It's also more consistent, between my rifles, because I shoot my AR with the optic back here. I shoot my my AK with the optic back here. So there's less of a difference as I go from one to the other. So in all other respects, I consider both guns pretty equal. I mean, the AK does have the advantage as far as durability. I mean, I've seen people open up the dust cover and throw like dirt in there, and the gun still functions. So the AK definitely has a little bit of advantage in the durability field. But the AK is also pretty durable, especially with these with the carbine length gas systems. They tend to overgas these, so that they got a lot of pressure in there, and that bolt will cycle, even if it gets dirty. So as far as I'm concerned, practically speaking, there's not that much of a difference between these two guns, except when it comes to reloading. As I demonstrated, the AR-15 is a lot easier to reload, especially under stressful circumstances, as compared to the AK. But I think that it's to me, it's like one of those things that, hey, I want to practice it, I want to get good at it. I think everybody should have an AR. I think everybody should have an AK, and everybody should have a Glock. Okay, those are my top 3 guns. Everybody should have those 3 guns. You should have lots of other guns besides that, but those 3 guns should be in every collection, and everybody should be proficient with using an AK and working through the minor differences that exist between these 2 designs. Thanks for watching. Post some comments. I'll talk to you guys next time.